Today we're going to start a series of videos on how to use the little swing frame bender. Today I'm just going to kind of describe the basic bending setup, and I'm going to bend two pieces of material. I'm going to bend some 1/4 inch hot rolled material to 90 degrees. It's a very simple bend. And I'll bend a piece of 1/8 by 3/4 hot rolled material, mild steel, to 180 degrees. And I'll talk about some of the challenges that you face when you're bending a piece of metal. So I have the bender set up with the clamp fence, the form die, and then the pressure roller in the correct positions. What do I mean by that? Typically you want to have a shorter distance between the form die and the clamp fence or pin or block, so that when you make the bend, the setting leg, in other words the leg that is set back into the main frame, doesn't move, and only the part that extends beyond the form die moves. So just for purpose of illustration, I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to set the bar in randomly. By eye, I'm going to judge that I have sufficient material here to make the 90-degree bend. Assume that we had to make a bracket and you're only making one. You'd make the bend and trim the ends precisely to the dimensions that you want. So if we made that assumption and we wanted to make a 90-degree bend, then this is how we do it. I've got the bar set in the bender. It's up against the pressure pin in the form die. I'm holding it with my hand. And then I'm going to just take my right hand and I'm going to pull steadily, and I'm going to make a 90-degree bend. I'm going to look down on the bend, and by eyeball I will bend to 90 degrees. Now if you're bending lots of parts, we could put a stop block on and do a couple other little things to ensure precision bending. But I describe all of that in a series of other videos. But for today I'm just going to make a simple bend in a piece of 1/4 inch round bar to 90 degrees. There we go. I'm going to pull steadily, pull steadily. You can see the material moving around the form die. Most material will have a tendency to resist the bend, and that's called spring back. The harder the material, typically the more is spring back. So I'm just going to give it another little bend. And by eyeball, I can tell you that's pretty close to 90. And if you had to check that, you could put a square on it and do it that way. So anyways, a very simple bend, 90 degrees, and a piece of 1/4 inch round. Now I will move to a different material, piece of 1/8 by 3/4 flat bar, mild steel, and I'm going to put a 180 degree bend in it. So again, I'm going to put it into the bender, assuming that we're going to make this 80 degree bend and then trim it later. I'm going to put enough material beyond the form die so that I know I'm going to have enough material to make the 180 degree bend. So I'm going to lock everything in place. I'm going to check to make sure that the material is flat and flush and on top of the main frame. And then I'm going to bring my form die to the part, lock it in place, and then I'm just going to slowly bend it around, watching for 180 degrees. Going, going, going. Now it will have some spring back, and I'm going to kind of guess at this. And after completing the bend, I'll take my tape measure and I'll measure about 1 1/8 and 1 1/8. So on the first try, we got a nice 180 degree bend. You'll notice that the material tends to deform. There is a neutral axis, believe it or not. There is an outside and an inside area. Inside the neutral axis, the material is compressing. On the outside, it is going into tension. So you typically will get this kind of little rounded effect that is very, very typical of bending this type of material. Again, in a series of future videos, we're going to have a number of different bending problems that we'll go ahead and solve with this little bender. Thanks for watching.